International Maritime Association recorded 120 acts of piracy off the coast of Somalia in 2008. Mombasa, Kenya has become a hub in efforts to combat that piracy. Freelance journalist David Axe recently went there to look at piracy's impact and the attempts to control it.
Mombasa is a city of about 750,000 people in southern Kenya. It's one of the largest ports in Africa, and I believe the largest in East Africa. Mombasa is the major port of call for vessels passing through the Suez Canal from Europe to Asia or the other direction. Just a few hundred miles north of Mombasa is Somalia. By virtue of its proximity to Somalia, has turned into a base of operations for counter-piracy efforts.
Piracy is a lucrative business in Somalia. In fact, by some estimates, it's the largest industry in Somalia. Pirates can make $1 million or more in a ransom for a large ship. That makes pirates in Somalia the wealthiest and by some accounts the most desirable husbands in Somalia, for instance. Increasingly, pirates bring in the money that holds Somalia together.
This issue started up in the early 90s, and those times the pirates were mostly dealing with the small fishing vessels. The reasons they gave at that time was that they were protecting their fish stocks. But again, in my opinion, I think they were just preparing for the bigger picture, which is what we are seeing now.
What is the bigger picture?
The bigger picture was not just to go for the fishing vessels, but to go for the bigger commercial vessels and even passenger ships. One passenger ship, which was scheduled to come to Mombasa one time, maybe it was last year, I cannot remember which, it was actually fired upon with grenades which were launched by those rocket-launched grenades. And she opened up her speed and headed away from Mombasa. I think she went to the Seychelles in the end. So that Mombasa was cut out. Well, from the pictures we've seen, we've noted that the attacking vessels are small speedboats, but very sophisticated, agreed, which can carry some guns and ammunition. But for their speed and their size, they don't have the range to leave the coast and go that far out, sometimes over 200 or 300 nautical miles. So, a bigger school of thought is that they have some mothership stations out there from where these boats are launched to go and attack the vessels.
A lot of Mombasa fishermen are scared to go out onto the water because over years and years they've had repeated close calls with pirates, and it's just not worth it to them anymore to run the risk, however diminished, to run the risk of being hijacked again and kidnapped. No one's quite sure when pirates are going to start killing people, and Kenyan fishermen are loath to be the first victims. So you've seen a lot of fishermen bow out of the business in recent years. Pirates haven't murdered anybody, and the reason is because people are valuable for ransom. They're worth more alive than dead, so pirates take pains not to kill anyone. Also, increasingly, pirates are being captured and held accountable for their actions, put on trial in Kenya, and pirates don't want a murder charge on top of their piracy charges. The tourism officials in Kenya are worried that a cruise ship could be the first case where pirates kill somebody, and they could kill a lot of somebody. So the larger vessels, say 3,000 passengers plus more than 1,000 crew, with that many people on board, there's the pirates would be hugely outnumbered, and that could result in them losing control of the situation, panicking, and maybe opening fire. They haven't succeeded in taking a cruise ship, as cruise ships are fast, and they're hard to board because they're very high off the water. You see armed guards at the pier. You'll see policemen in little motorboats trawling around the vessel in the harbor waters. And in the harbor, there are often Kenyan military vessels, although those vessels aren't there just to protect the cruise ships, but rather to protect the entire port. The number of cruise ships docking in Mombasa has fallen in recent months, and could fall further. It could go to zero.
Piracy obviously has affected the entire shipping industry, and with tourists on board it becomes even more sensitive. The solution has got to be found almost immediately if the cruises that are programmed to be around the Indian Ocean continue with their itinerary. And if the risk increase, then we can see every possibility of these cruises being cancelled.
Mombasa is also the staging point for UN World Food Program operations that feed about 4 million Somalis. Somalia hasn't had a functioning government since 1991, and on top of nearly 2 decades of fighting, the country's been in a drought for most of that period. In the early 90s, Somalia was on the brink of starvation, and it took a major intervention by the United States military and some of its allies and the UN World Food Program to avoid a catastrophe that would have resulted in the deaths of potentially millions of people. So today, that aid operation continues about once a month, maybe twice a month, with increasing frequency. A coastal freighter will load up with anywhere between 1,000 and 3,000 tons of food in the new port and meet a warship outside the harbor mouth for the 500-mile journey to Mogadishu or Merka in Somalia. In late 2008, the European Union took over the escort mission on a more or less permanent basis. The current commitment is for 1 year, but the EU is already talking about adding another year onto that, and it could continue even longer.
Our mission is to escort and protect the World Food Program shipping from Mombasa to Mogadishu, as well as to protect vulnerable shipping, as this shipping is defined from the operational headquarters in Northwood, UK, and last but not least, to deter and repress piracy. Currently, there are 4 vessels under my command. We're expecting for 1 more, as well as there are 2 aircrafts, maritime patrol aircrafts, and 5 organic helicopters.
There hasn't been a hijacking since the UN began using military escorts in late 2007, but still the crews and captains of these ships that carry food aid to Somalia say that they're scared that pirates could grab one of these vessels.
In the year 2005, on June of 25th, we were carrying some cargo, WFP cargo, destined for port of Bosaso, the north port of Somalia. And on the way, when we are between Itala and Obio, we were confronted with a group of pirates with 3 speedboats. And by 2000 hours, they were managed to stop us. And they came to the bridge and took the control of the ship.
What was the treatment like? Did they feed you, give you some place to stay?
Well, we used our own food for a while, and I remember they kept us in captivity for 110 days. So we were run short of fuel, we ran short of fresh water and food, and they begin to feed us by bringing food from the village, which was not enough.
Were you worried that they were going to kill you?
Of course, I was worried, but they assured us and told us if we behave, then we'll be safe, because their aim is between the owner of the vessel and the pirate themselves. They assured us if the ransom is paid and we behave, nobody is trying to become a hero, then we will be safe.
Did you believe them?
No, not at all.
What was the first thing you did when you got home?
I went straight here to mosque and pray, and I see my family, and at that moment I decided that I will never go back to sea again. But I don't know how I got back in this situation.
How did you get back in this situation?
Well, I'm used to it, and this is my career, so it's very difficult to leave it.
In November, 8 pirates were captured by the British Royal Navy while trying to attack a Danish cargo vessel. At the time that these 8 pirates were captured, the British government was negotiating with Kenya to create a permanent agreement whereby Kenya would accept pirates into its legal system. Now, other navies have captured and released pirates. The Danish Navy is most infamous for doing this. They would capture pirates either threatening to or conducting an attack on a merchant ship, and then the Danish Navy would just transport the pirates to the nearest Somali beach and kick them off and let them go. And you can count on those pirates having returned to piracy as soon as they could walk back to town. So these 8 pirates were kind of a test case for whether Kenyan courts would work as the legal authority in piracy cases. So the pirates had some hearings in December just to establish some of the details of the case, and in January they were convicted of piracy and sentenced to 10 years in prison. So it appears that it's working, and with this case as a precedent, other nations have signed agreements with Kenya to take pirates that they capture into their custody. Most notably, the U.S. State Department signed an agreement with Kenya for the U.S. Navy to deliver any pirates it captures into Kenyan custody, most likely in Mombasa.
You can watch this again at any time by visiting our website, cspan.org. You'll also find more programming on international piracy, as well as additional work by freelance journalist David Axe.